Oh yeah, it's double. Double organic.
We're gonna get started. Yeah. Good evening. My name is Michael Kuipers. On behalf of the Western Ontario Vegan Society, thank you very much for coming this evening. Before we begin, I would like to thank our executive team and Animal Liberation Alliance London for helping to make this event a success. Harold Brown is the founder of FarmKind and an advocate for social and environmental justice. His amazing story is one of transformation from animal farmer to vegan animal advocate. He was born and raised on a cattle farm in south central Michigan and spent over half his life in agriculture, including 3 years in the dairy industry. Harold is featured in the award-winning film Peaceful Kingdom: The Journey Home. He also works as an advocate for animal rights, sustainable independent family farms, and peace through nonviolence. It is my great honor and pleasure to introduce Harold Brown. Please give him a warm welcome.
I think one of the most important aspects of society moving that way is when you look at the economic structure of our system, like you were mentioning before with the feedlots and things like this, and how how they project animals. But when you start growing meat, it takes all this environmental impact, which I think is a huge aspect of how we're breeding animals and raising animals. And I think as this technology comes down the line, it starts shifting the economic structure, and I think that's the actual power in the meat, the power that behind this biologically grown meat. And as our economic structure changes, it changes the way our consciousness is. It's the way people. It changes the way money's flowing through the system. It changes the way people advertise. It changes the way the corporations are projecting on us. And I think that's a really important aspect of transitioning society as a whole and the planet.
It's true, and that he brings up a very good point for being here about the environmental impact of animal agriculture. If you haven't seen the documentary Cowspiracy, which showed here a couple days ago, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's on Netflix now. You have Netflix in Canada, right? Yeah. Well, actually, Leonardo DiCaprio, being an environmentalist, don't know if he's on a plant-based diet. I haven't heard anything about that. But he thought that it was so important as an environmentalist for people to know about that he paid to have it put on Netflix so that people can go watch it. And you can, they got so much criticism from the industry, of the animal industry, because they, in the documentary, they show the science and of how arguably greater than 51% of all greenhouse gases is generated by the livestock industry. Okay, now this comes from the scientist who did this. I met years before this documentary came out. One of the people who published a paper, his name was Robert Goodland. He approached me at a conference and took me in a corner and sat me down. And he says, "Did you read the UN's report? It's called The Long Shadow of Livestock," which you can still read, still out there, that the UN wrote. He says, "Do you agree with it?" Because they said 18% of all greenhouse gases are generated by livestock industry, which at 18% is more greenhouse gases than all global transportation put together. Planes, trains, automobiles. And it was newsworthy for a couple of years. But they said, "Do you agree with that?" And I told Robert, I said, "No." I said, because they externalized a lot of things. Like the number one thing that came to mind was row cropping corn, yellow dent corn in the United States. Our number one nitrogen fixer is anhydrous ammonia. It takes 100 cubic feet of natural gas to make 1 cubic foot of anhydrous. The carbon footprint of that is huge, but it wasn't. The UN didn't take that into account. So he was with a team of 6 other scientists who were from some place that isn't known for being liberal or objective, because he works for the International Monetary Fund. And 2 of the other scientists, 4 of them work for them, 2 of the scientists work for the World Bank. Now these people fund the globalization of animal agriculture. Okay, they're the ones that are taking the American model of animal agriculture, transplanting it. It used to be called the Green Revolution in the United States. They are calling that in India, the Green Revolution in India. China, Africa, South America. South America was the first place it went. But now we're seeing that India is now the largest producer of broiler chickens in the world. That happened in 10 years. China is now the world's largest producer of pork, pigs, in the world. And that was because of American agribusiness, Smithfield in particular. And South America, the largest, well, they're not the largest producer. The 3 largest producers for beef are Canada, United States, and Brazil. Now, the company in Brazil called JBS now owns most of our meat packing plants, and probably about, I'd say between 20 and 30%, depending on the research you look at, of all the feedlots in the United States. And with the TPP, they're going to start owning, they're going to be expanding animal agriculture in Canada, and they're going to be owning that. Because the world's the largest producer and packer of beef in the world, JBS. You can look them up. You can see the timeline of how they've grown exponentially. So it's become this global market, and that was what these people made Cowspiracy. They looked at. They said, "Oh, wait a minute. How come this research has come out of several different quarters, and people have written books on it? How come the environmental organizations aren't saying anything about it? It's not on their websites. It's not on their radar." So these filmmakers, these 2 guys, they contacted every environmental group in the United States, which is a bunch of them, some big, some very small. And most of them wouldn't go on camera. The ones that did stonewalled them. And it's not something they would talk about. And one of them, which actually had to deal with seafood, was about sustainable fishing, or sustainable marine harvesting is what they call it. That guy, the pretzel logic he puts on camera is just astounding. But they basically made the case for it. Now, they got so much pushback from the animal industry that now they put up a section on their website which is called Facts. And you can find all the research, you can see all the citations, and who paid for it. That's the key thing. Whenever you do your homework, please keep this in mind. Whenever you do your homework, read the citations, dig into it. It might take you a month to get through the layers of it. Find out who funded the study. Because you're going to find something in papers that are published, is that there's something called referential bias. And you'll see it time and again. And the referential bias will always be skewed toward whoever funded the study. Now, I live in New York, and I live a hop and a skip from Cornell University. Really weird university to be around. Why? Because it's an Ivy League school. It's 2 schools. It's private and public. The private school is the Ivy League school. The public is a land grant. In the United States, our agricultural schools are called land grants. So they have a land grant there, which is like Guelph here. But it's also got the #1 vet school in the United States. Well, when you look at things that are published by them, it's really easy to go back to it and see who funded it. And one of their biggest contributors at that school is Monsanto. They pour millions of dollars every semester into that land grant school. So you can see what referential bias is. When they come up with research that is contrary to the interest of who funded the study, they just don't publish. I mean, the paper's there, it gets put into mothballs, but it never sees the light of day. That's just how it works. In the United States, this is particularly problematic because in the 1980s, president at the time, he restructured things in our universities to where universities can profit from the research that they do. Up until that point, any research or development that a university did, they could be given credit for it, but they couldn't financially benefit from it because that's called referential bias. Okay? So they would be, and that doesn't exist anymore. Now we've got the biggest pharmaceutical companies and all of these other interests pouring money into the schools, getting things published under the canopy of academia. And with enough PhDs behind it, it sounds like it's legitimate, but maybe not so. Not until you've done your homework and dig into it.
Oh yeah, it's double organic. Did you know I offer raw food coaching? Comment, like, share, and subscribe. Got epic recipes, fitness, and raw food motivation. Connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and of course, YouTube. Whoa, look at all those recipes. Those look tasty. Give me some of that. I'm proud to announce the release of my free raw recipe app. Do you want over 100 original raw food recipes in the palm of your hand? Click the links to download or search Double Organic on your phone.